All right, everyone. Welcome back to Chasing the Delta Academy. I hope everybody enjoyed our bye week, got some rest in, maybe got some fun races in, and is ready to get back at it for week 4 of our 6-week season, season 3. This week we're going to be at Long Beach in California. Very technical street course, one of the probably most unforgiving tracks that is regularly run on this service, just by the nature of it having lots of walls, being very tight, in many ways being unfriendly for multi-class. It requires a lot of cooperation between the two classes if you are going to be running the 30-minute multi-class races here. But very rewarding and fun, especially if you really feel like challenging yourself and getting into the IMSA Pilot Challenge, which we'll be running here the following weekend as well. Before we get into it, just want to note a few things. There is going to be contact in races this week. There's going to be pile-ups, there's going to be bottlenecks, and we are looking at the source of one of the biggest ones right now, the final hairpin, turn 11. There's going to be cars coming through here slower than other cars expected. There's going to be cars bouncing off the wall back across the track on exit, so be very aware. And we say this every time, but particularly important this week, I would say qualifying is very important. If you can get your 1 lap pace down and start towards the front of the field, you're going to just miss a lot of that stuff by the simple fact that you're in front of a lot more cars. So to that point, this is a little bit of a hack. I don't necessarily love it, but if you're going to be qualifying against other people doing it, you might as well know about it. You can see here there's all of this room of the track that is not racing line whatsoever, but what you will see people do, especially now that we can see other people's qualifying lines, is that at the end of their warm-up lap on qualifying, they will swing out here, get the car pointed straight, not necessarily come to a stop, but swing out here, and that gives you an extra 10 car lengths of acceleration space to go into your first hot lap. Or if you mess up your first hot lap, get a wall contact, something like that, you can bail on that hot lap and use this trick for your second one to give yourself a little bit more top speed coming across the line. That's going to be free speed right off the bat. So with that being said, let's get into the proper lap. Little kiss, not even a 0x there. You're going to become comfortable with those. Not necessarily fast, but something that happens. Coming down the straight here, you want to hug the inside. Use the road, the normal road lane lines as a guide, and also this red line on the right as a guide. Pretty obvious, I would say, but you want to be on the inside line to minimize distance unless you're actively making a pass. And it is turn 1 is a left-hander, so if you're going to be making a pass, try to get to the left-hand side of the car going into the braking zone that you're trying to overtake. The first braking zone is going to be very, very important. So a couple things to note here, and this will be a theme with the track in general. You do not want to push this braking zone further out, as will go for many of the corners in this track. If you blow it, by the time you realize it, it's too late to save it and you're in the wall on the exit of the corner. So you can get away with, I would say, halfway in between the 400 and 500 board, and in this case I'm actually braking a little bit before halfway. Another thing to note is that this over here is all pit out. So if you're trying to maximize entry of the corner and you cross over the double blue line, which turns into a double yellow line up here, you will get a penalty for it. So use this as your track limits. Hard braking, you're going to want to get down all the way into second gear, and for this inside curb, you can use a little bit. As you can see, I have my car about halfway over the curb, but if you use more than that, it'll bounce your car out and you'll end up in this wall. You'll You'll see here that I left a little bit of room on, I could have maximized this even further coming out to the wall, but in terms of finding something repeatable, I think for this track it is okay if you leave half a car width to the wall on some of these corner exits. You can push it on corner entry, that's a lot safer. If you push it on corner exit, not as forgiving, I should say. And you have tire barriers here, but the rest is just going to be concrete. So coming into turn 2, you want to brake about, I would say, 4 car lengths or so from this corner of the wall here. Right about is when you start, you're going to follow the curve of this wall, and right about when you start changing direction is when you're going to want to start braking. Again, earlier braking will serve you better than later braking here. If you brake late, you end up going deep into this carousel, the fountain carousel, turn 3, and you will pay for it on the exit of the corner. As you're coming through here, your target is going to be the left side of this Motul sign where it meets the NTT data sign. So you're going to point your car right there, and just after you pass the apex wall here with this Firestone, you're going to start changing directions. Back to the right, hug this curb. You can even ride up onto the edge of the fountain a little bit, and the earlier you can get on the throttle, the better. The tendency is going to be to want to wait for the car to get all the way around the corner. You can't afford to do that here. You're going to have to basically stomp on the throttle and guide it through the rest of the corner. That'll serve you all the way down until the next heavy braking zone with time. It's a little bit hard to find the brake zone for turn 4 coming up here. A little bit difficult to find the exact brake mark, so you'll have to play with timing and your visualization of this inside curb that's going to be appearing up here. But the best thing that I've found is that once your full car is past this black sign here is when you can get on the brakes, and you can also use this diagonal white line here as a brake reference in front of you. When you're about 1 car length away from hitting that is when you can start braking. This is going to be a case of light braking to maximize mid-corner speed but still give your car the front wheel grip that it needs to make the corner. Quick downshift into second, stomp on the throttle. Same deal with this curb. You can use it, but if you use too much of it, it's going to bounce your car out into this exit wall. So quick downshift into second, stomp on the throttle. You'll be back in third before the end of this short straight, and you're actually going to hug this outside wall to maximize your exit angle, your entry angle, excuse me, and use a lot of this, I don't know, is this a curb? They're just like little bumps that they have in the road here. They kind of suggest track limits, but you can use the heck out of them and you won't get an off track. It'll bump the car around a little bit, so you'll see that I actually bleed on the throttle instead of stamping on it, because this is going to be a spot, especially on cold tires, where you'll see a lot of cars looping off here. Again, it's blind. Especially on cold tires, you'll see cars lighten up the rear tires, looping around in that section. It can be a potential bottleneck, so be aware. You can probably use a little bit more of track exit that I did, get a little bit closer to the wall. I didn't in this case, so maybe it isn't necessary. Could just be a case of adding distance, but the more mid-corner speed you can carry over those curbs, the better. So then you'll want to gradually get back to the right side of the track. Brake marker is going to be the 250, so halfway in between the 200 and 300 board. Pretty hard braking, 80%-ish peak pressure. Get down into second gear, and again, early throttle is going to serve you well here. So trail all the way to the apex and get on throttle as quickly as you can. Slightly before the apex is where I hit it. You're going to be tempted to run the car all the way out to the wall here. But if you see there's actually a red line on the track, I would treat that as your track limits. Going any further than that is just adding unnecessary distance. So that would be turns 6 and 7. We're coming through 7 right now. So it's kind of hard to tell in the sim, but this is actually downhill, this sector of the track, this short straight going into turn 8. So braking performance is going to be compromised. There's also bumps. There's bumps throughout the whole track. What am I saying? The whole thing's bumpy, but particularly in this braking zone, there are bumps that are going to screw you up. So as we approach it, the 250 board, again, just like the last corner, is going to be your brake marker. Heavy brakes, trail off, mid-corner speed, once again. Best way to maximize mid-corner speed in this case is to delay your downshift into second as long as possible. Use third to carry momentum through the entry of the corner, and then shift late into second to get that extra rotation to keep yourself from hitting this Motul tire barrier. One tip that I want to give about this corner is that as you learn it, this is going to happen, so don't worry if it does. As you learn it, the tendency is going to be to run wide and hit this wall. And once you perfect your turn-in point, this wall will no longer become a problem. And that's because what a lot of people will be doing is turning in from the brake marker. That would be the 200 board. Let's get back down to car level. So you'll see a lot of people fading in towards the corner already at this 200 board. What I would like you to try and do is straight line brake until you're nearly at the 100 board. And if you turn in late, try to hug this inside wall. All of a sudden this corner becomes actually pretty simple. You're going to stop running into this barrier here. You're going to stop running into the exit wall. Early throttle. Run out to the edge of the track. Again, I'm leaving a half of a car width or a little bit less as insurance there. And you finally have some breathing room as you come into turn 9. This is going to be a spot where if you can get the exit speed on the car ahead of you, you have a lot of time to get the pass done before you reach turn 9. So wiggle your fingers, take a quick break through this straight. Turn 9 brake marker is going to be the 400 board. You can push it to the 350, but like I said at the beginning of the guide, you don't really want to push the brake markers in this track. I'd rather see you braking at the 400 or a little bit earlier and braking lighter as opposed to slamming on the brakes at the 350 and hoping that you can make it. Because if you run wide, again, you're hitting that wall. So if you're making a move on the inside, keep that in mind as well. You're going to have a sharper angle coming into this corner, so you might need to brake even a little bit earlier with light pressure so you can get the move done. But it's a big passing zone, but not necessarily a friendly one. So this is going to be another case of using a lot of these weird temporary curbs that they have here. You can basically get your entire car up against the wall, and that'll shallow the corner out a lot more for you, make it a lot more friendly of an angle coming through this corner. Hard on the throttle. We're in second gear, coming down from fifth to second, I believe. Second gear, quick upshift to third, and then back down to second. Now, this carousel turn 10 is a very difficult corner in all cars, but especially the GT4. It's gonna feel like you're balancing the car on like a ice skate the entire time, where it's really you're gonna be on the edge through the entire thing if you're maximizing your mid corner speed. Well, yeah, your mid corner speed. So can get pretty heavy on the throttle through here, through the middle of the carousel. But then you're going to brake, then you're going to get back on throttle, and what you're actually aiming for is this little pocket here. You're aiming for this, and once it becomes visible, it'll be hidden by this wall. But once this little pocket becomes visible on your screen is when you want to start your turn in. And I just want to make a note that as you're perfecting this carousel, I mean, you can watch the lap guide, you can watch the onboard, but it's going to feel like you're doing this like tiki 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 tiki, like tippy toes thing back and forth between the brake and the throttle. And I actually think that's okay because you're maximizing the mechanical grip of the car through this. So if you're back and forth, as long as your inputs aren't too drastic and it's little brake touches to get the car to turn, little throttle inputs to keep the mid-corner speed up, I think that's okay until you can find something that's comfortable for you and perfect this. Also expect LMP3s coming around the outside of you here. It's quite annoying. So this final corner, turn 11, is again going to be a big bottleneck zone, and you are going to hit two different things that are very rare in this car. First of all is full wheel lock. Once you see this pocket that I mentioned before, you're going to hit full wheel lock to the right, and you're also going to be shifting down into first gear. Two things that we really don't see a lot of in this car. So the best way to get through it and to think about it is that you're shifting to first right. You can see the throttle blip right there. Sometimes I was even hitting first at the halfway point through the hairpin. And that's not because I'm necessarily trying to maximize the entry speed. It's because you will not be able to shift down into first here because of downshift protection. So it's very complicated in the sense that you're hand over hand right here. Look at the steering wheel down here. You're completely hand over hand, and you've still got to figure out a way to hit that downshift. So it'll take some practice, but you can definitely get it done. Final thing to note before we come across the start-finish line is hard on throttle. Since you're in first, you're going to need to upshift almost immediately. Don't let it bounce off the rev limiter because you'll pay for that in top speed all the way down the front straight. And the car is going to want to kick out on you like this. Even got a little squirrely there. So be ready to catch it. Loose hands makes it easier to let the car autocorrect in that case. And that's a lap at Long Beach. Get back over to the right side of the track. You don't have to jump back over there, but point your car towards the flag stand. Hug that curb and keep your braking marker in mind, or not the curb, hug the wall, excuse me, and keep your braking marker in mind for turn 1. Best of luck, everybody. Let the coaches know if you have any questions. Final note is that this is a great track to set up an active reset point in on a test drive session, because you're going to be hitting the wall a lot. You're going to be damaging the car a lot. You don't want to constantly be towing the car, starting again with cold tires, warming the car up, and then going. So my recommendation would be get 3-4 laps in, set a test drive active reset point right around here, so that if you crash, you can revert back to that active reset point, and then you're back on track immediately with hot tires. I don't think you can turn off damage in a test drive session, so that's your next best option. If you need any help setting an active reset, just let us know, or plenty of YouTube videos online about that as well. And best of luck. Looking forward to some good racing this week.